Good afternoon. I am Dr. Indira Samajdar Gangopadhyay of Department of Geography, and today I will give a lecture on climatic classification by Kopen, and this topic is included in the syllabus of Sem-III, and the paper is Core 5T, and this is a very important topic related to the climatology part of geography, and so I will give a lecture or I will teach this topic. Climatic classification is a very important part of climatology. Many climatologists have done or have given some climatic classification of the whole world, and like Kopen, Thornthwaite, then L. Dudley Stamp, Oliver. So, but one of the most accepted and one of the common and easy classification of climate of the world has been given by Vladimir Kopen, and he was not a famous climatologist, but he was also a German botanist, and he presented a descriptive scheme of the classification of the world climate first in the year 1900, and as he was a botanist, so he just taken up the vegetation zones and he classified the whole world, the climate of the whole world on the basis of the vegetation zones. So, after his classification in 1900, he had revised the scheme in the year 1918, where he gave emphasis on the two important parameters of climate, that is monthly and annual averages of temperature and precipitation, and the seasonal distribution of temperature and precipitation all over the world. But again he modified his scheme in 1931 and then in 1936, and so after modification he has presented a final scheme or a final description of the world climatic zones. And Kopen's original scheme was modified in 1953 by Geiger and Pohl, and the revised scheme was known as Kopen, Geiger and Pohl's scheme of classification of the world climate, and it was also published. This classification, which was known as Geiger, Pohl's and Kopen scheme of climatic classification, was also published. And it may be pointed out that this classification of Kopen is very popular or very important because the nature of this classification is quantitative, and there are many numerical values of temperature and precipitation have been used. They used many numerical values of temperature and precipitation, that is monthly and annual, and after calculation and of these values they have given the climatic classification, and they have also delineated the boundaries of the different climatic types. And so this is the basis of climatic classification, so still it is very important, and this climatic classification is very much accepted by the students and other educationists. Next, Kopen firstly used 5 major vegetation zones of the world, and these vegetation zones were identified by Candolle, who was a famous botanist in 1874, and he used these vegetation zones and as the basis of the climatic classification. And these zones were: number 1, megatherm, and megatherm means where the plants require uniformly high temperature and abundant moisture. So, this type of plants are known as megatherms. Then xerophytes. Xerophytes, we all know that they are the vegetation of arid region, and here the plants prefer aridity and they also need high temperature. And then mesotherms. Mesotherms are the type of plants which are adapted to moderate heat and moderate amount of moisture. That is, they can thrive on the basis of moderate heat and moderate amount of moisture. Then microtherm, that is the plant which thrives in cool summer and very cold winters. And hecistotherms, that is the vegetation which comprises of snowbound Arctic region, and that is beyond the polar limit of the tree growth. That is, here no trees generally grow, and it is constitute of only snow. So, generally the mosses, lichens, this type of vegetation are commonly found. They are included within the Hecistotherm. So, these basis of climatic classification of the world climate was done by or taken up by Kopen, because the distribution of natural vegetation, according to him, the distribution of natural vegetation was the best indicator, or it is one of the main basis for the climatic region of the world. The climate of a region is very much, it is interpreted through the vegetation of that region. So, consequently, many of the climatic boundaries selected according to Kopen were in that is they were same as the vegetation limits. So, vegetation is one of the main basis of the climatic classification of Kopen. So, based on these 5 vegetation zones, he divided the world climate into 5 principal types of climate, and one of the most that is important or key feature of his classification is that he used the capital or letters of English for designation of his climatic types, to designate his climatic types, and they were A, B, C, D and E. He used these 5 main capital letters of English of English language to designate a particular type of climate. So, first A, and A represents humid tropical type of climate, and we know that the humid tropical type of climate is, there is no distinct that is summer or winter season. There is the temperature is mean temperature, or the average temperature is very high, that is always above 18 degrees centigrade, and the rainfall is also high throughout the year. Then B, it represents the dry climate, that is the arid climate, and where evaporation exceeds precipitation, and there is also constant water shortage or water deficit or water shortage throughout the year. There is constant water shortage throughout the year. Then C, humid mesothermal or warm temperate rainy climate, and in this type of climate there is mild winters, and the average temperature of the coldest and the warmest month varies between 8 degree to 18 degree centigrade, and it belongs in the warm temperate region, but the rainfall is also abundant. Then D includes humid microthermal climate or cold forest climate, and it is characterized by very severe winters, that is the winters are very cold, and the average temperature during the warmest month is not above 10 degrees centigrade, and during the coldest month it is always, it varies between below 0 degree to 3 degrees centigrade. That is, it varies, it comes to minus, and the highest temperature in winter month is 3 degrees centigrade. And E, that is the polar climate, which is characterized by summerless season, and the average temperature of the warmest month is below 10 degrees centigrade, and the winter month is always below 0 degrees centigrade. So, these are the major 5 types of climate designated by Kopen, and these are dependent upon the 5 vegetation zones which he already have designated earlier. And of these that is 5 major types of climate A, B, C, D, E, the 4 types, that is A, C, D and E, A, C, D and E, these are based on temperature characteristics. That is, on the basis of temperature these 4 types of climate are designated. While the 5th type, that is the B category, there the precipitation is the fundamental criteria. Precipitation has given importance, and on the basis of precipitation this B category have been designated. So, each of these 5 categories of climatic groups, this which were designated by Kopen, were also further subdivided into the further more categories on the basis of the periodicity and regime of the precipitation, on the basis of periodicity and regime of precipitation and temperature characteristics. So, beside these capital letters, he had also used the lower small letters, that is the small letters of English language, which have specific meaning for the subdivision, and they were F, M, W and S. F, M, W and S, these 4 letters were used by him, and F designates precipitation throughout the year and minimum precipitation of 6 centimeter in every month of the year, and M designates monsoon type of climate, where we know that the dry season is very short and the summer and winter season are very much distinct, and the average precipitation is also more or less high throughout the year, and the driest months there is the amount of precipitation is less than 6 centimeter. W designates winter is dry, and S designates summer is dry, that is well defined summer dry season, that is there is no rainfall in summer, that is S, and W there is no rainfall in winter. So, these are all small letters A, F, M, W and S. These 4 small letters has been used for subdivision of these main 5 types of climatic zones. So, the first type is the A type, that is humid tropical type of climate, and it is further subdivided into 4 subtypes. First is AF, AW, AM and AS. So, AF type of climate designates humid tropical climate. Humid tropical climate, so as it is humid tropical, so the rainfall occurs throughout the year, all the seasons are wet, and the daily range of temperature is very low. As the rainfall occurs, a huge amount of rainfall occurs throughout the year, so the daily range of temperature is very little, very low. Next is A and W, that is AW type of climate. It designates tropical dry type of climate, which is designated by savanna. That is, in this type of climate there is huge amount of aridity, the evaporation exceeds precipitation and it is very dry, and the winter is also dry and the temperature is high. In summer little rainfall occurs, but winter is totally dry. Then next is AM type of climate, which is the monsoon climate, where there is distinct season, summer season and winter season, and there is also rainy season, but the amount of rainfall is more or less high throughout the year, or except 2 or 3 months of the year the rainfall occurs. Then AS type of climate, that is, this type of climate is designated by the characteristic of dry summers. No rainfall occurs during summers, and this type of climate is rarely found. Only it is found in Mediterranean region where the rainfall occurs during winter. And one important thing is that it is the transition or the boundary between AW and AM climate is demarcated on the basis of annual precipitation and the precipitation of the driest month. And as per the formula which is given below, where A is equal to 3.94 minus R divided by 25. So, where A represents precipitation of the driest month and R represent annual precipitation, and these two values, that is 3.94 and 25, they are the constant values, and after calculation, if the precipitation, the value which is calculated, if the precipitation of the driest month of a place is less than that value of A, it will be AW type of climate, and if the precipitation of the driest month is more than that value, then it will be AM type of climate. So, in this way AM and the boundary between AM and AW type of climate has been demarcated by this calculation. Then next is B type of climate. B type of climate is a dry climate, and it is divided into 2 types on the basis of precipitation, and in B type of climate, here always evaporation exceeds precipitation. So, these 2 types of climate are BW and BS. So, BW designates dry desert climate and BS designates semi-arid or steppe type of climate. So, dry desert climate, that is which is found in the desert region, which is very dry, high temperature throughout the day and throughout the year, very little amount of rainfall occurs, and the vegetation is almost xerophytic type of vegetation. And semi-arid or steppe type of climate, that is their aridity is a little less than the desert type, and it is a steppe type of climate. So, grasslands are generally found in this region and is designated by BS. So, the boundary between BW and BS climate is determined on the basis of the formula, the same formula which is also given earlier. It is where R is equal to 0.44 T minus 8.5 divided by 2, where R is the annual precipitation and T is the temperature in Fahrenheit and R is the annual precipitation in inches. So, here also the value which comes, if the annual precipitation of the given place is more than that value of R, then the climate of that place will be BS, and if it is less than the value of that of R, then the climate of that region will be BW. So, after calculation of this value, the boundary of these two types of climate has been designated. So, on the basis of this formula, and the 0.44 and 8.5 these are, that is constant. So, B type of climate is again subdivided on the basis of annual temperature. So, if the annual temperature is more than 18 degrees centigrade, then the climate is indicated by the letter H, small h, and if it is less than 18 degrees centigrade, then the climate is indicated by the letter K, that is small k. So, this B type of climate is again subdivided on the basis of the annual temperature by H and K. So, thus the B type of climate is again subdivided into 4 types: BWH, BSH, then BWK and BSK. So, BWH designates arid tropical desert climate. All these type of climates are arid, but it is a tropical desert type of climate, BWH, and BSH, it is a semi-arid type of climate. Semi-arid, that is W is designated by arid and S is designated by semi-arid. So, BSH is designated by semi-arid tropical steppe type of climate. So, both are tropical, one is tropical desert climate and another is tropical steppe climate. Then BWK, again it designates arid but mid latitude cold desert type of climate. So, and BSK, it is also cool semi arid, but it is a mid latitude steppe type of climate. So, the BWH and BSH, both of them are, it belongs to the tropical desert and tropical steppe, but BWK and BSK, they are designated by mid latitude desert type of climate and mid latitude semi arid mid latitude steppe type of climate. So, this is the difference and they are designated by these letters. Then number 3, that is C type of climate, that is humid mesothermal or warm temperate rainy climate. So, based on the seasonal distribution of precipitation, C type of climate is again subdivided into 3 climatic types: CF, CW and CS. So, first is CF. CF type of climate means that is it is a type of climate which is wet all seasons, that is rainfall occurs in all seasons, and this type of climate represents the Western Europe type of climate, that is this type of climate is found in Western Europe, and it is further subdivided into second order classification, that is CFA and CFB. CFA represents wet all season climate, but it is found in the subtropical region. So, humid subtropical, and CFB, it is a marine west coast type of climate. So, CF type of climate is found in the Western Europe, but these two are again subdivided into second order on the basis of the region where they are found, that is the CFA designates the subtropical type of climate. This is found in a subtropical region but humid, that is rainfall occurs in all seasons, and CFB that is found in the west coast, that is a marine or maritime type of climate. There also the amount of rainfall is high in all seasons. Next is CW type of climate, and it designates the dry climate, and it is the China type of climate. It is found in the dry parts of China. Then CS represents dry summers, and it is very uncommon, and it is only found in the Mediterranean region. So, this represents the Mediterranean type of climate where the summers are dry, there is no rainfall, and the rainfall occurs from western disturbance during the winter season. And due to the effect of western disturbance, in our country also, in India also, some amount of rainfall occurs in the northern part of Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, and sometimes it is also extended up to Gangetic plain during winter. So, that rainfall during winter occurs, sometime it occurs, that is due to this effect of this Mediterranean type of climate, that is their rainfall during winter. So, that is known as western disturbance or westerlies. Then number 4, the next type of climate, that is the D type of climate, and it is the humid microthermal type of climate. That is the D type of climate or humid microthermal type of climate. It is also known as cold snow forest type of climate, and this type of climate is generally found in the mid latitudinal regions or the temperate regions. So, this type of climate is divided into 3 subtypes, that is DF type of climate, where that is wet all seasons, DS type of climate, that is the summers are dry, and DW type of climate, that is the winters are dry. So, the D type of climate is found in the temperate region or in the cold regions, and they are subdivided into DF, DS and DW according to the precipitation regime. That is, DF means precipitation occurs throughout the year, that is wet throughout the seasons, wet all seasons. DS, that is precipitation occurs only in winters, the summers are dry, and DW, the precipitation occurs only in summers and the winters are dry. The DF type of climate is further subdivided into 3 subtypes, that is DFA, DFB and DFC. So, the DF type of climate where the rainfall occurs in all seasons, that is which is wet in all seasons, that is subdivided into 3 types, DFA, DFB and DFC. So, the DFA type of climate, it is here the summers are long, and it is designated by warm continental type of climate, that is it is found in the continents. It is away from the maritime effect, it is away from the effects of the coast or effects of the sea. So, warm continental type of climate. And DFB, here the summers are long but the summers are cool, the summers are not warm, they are cool, as this type of climate are generally found in mid latitudinal regions. And DFC, where the summers are short, in B type the summers are long, but in C type the summers are short and they are also cool, and this is subarctic type of climate, that is just below the Arctic region this type of climate is found, which is known as the subarctic type of climate, that is just above the mid latitude or temperate region and just below the Arctic region, that is the subarctic type of climate. So, DF type of climate is subdivided into these 3 types. Then the DW type of climate is also further subdivided into 3 types, that is DWA, DWC and DWD. So, the D type of climate, in this type of climate there are more subdivisions or more second order classification. So, DWA, it represents the continental climate with long cool summer, and DWC, it represents the subarctic type of climate which is cool and the summers are short. And DWD type of climate, DWD, it represents the cold winters. So DWA is found within the continent and the summers are very long and cool. And DWC, this is just the type of climate or just the region which is above the temperate region and just below the Arctic region. That is, this is the subarctic region where the summers are short and cool, the winters are more or less long. And DWD type of climate, it belongs to the Arctic region and there the climate is very cold winters. So this is the subdivision of the D climate. Then last but not the least, that is the fifth type, that is the polar climates, that is E, that is just above the Arctic type. After subarctic there is Arctic, which is represented by DWD type of climate where the winters are cold, Arctic or tundra region we can say. And number 5, which is designated by the capital letter E, that represents the polar climate. It is just found around the poles and it is subdivided into 2 types, ET and ES. ET represents tundra climate where the temperature of the warmest month is below 10 degrees centigrade and above 0 degrees centigrade. So during the warm season or during the summer season, the temperature is just above 0 degrees centigrade, but within 10 degrees centigrade. The temperature does not go above 10 degrees centigrade in the summer month, and so it is very cold. And ES, that is the permanent snow field or permanent snow capped region, that is just around the poles, and here the temperature in all the month is below 0 degrees centigrade. That is, it is permanent ice cover or ice cap. So these are the 5 different types of climate, but that is Vladimir Kopen, he also spoke about, or he also designated a H type of climate or the highland type of climate. He designates it with letter H, and it is the, you see in this chart it is given at the last column, that is H type of climate or highland type of climate, and that is the mountain climate or the snow capped mountain climate. So in this the climate in this chart, all the 5 types of climate are, which is designated by Kopen, are given. A, that is humid tropical type of climate, B, that is dry climate, C, that is warm temperate mid latitude type of climate or humid mesothermal type of climate, then D, cold snow forest climate or humid microthermal type of climate, then E, that is the polar climate or the cold climate. And he also afterwards he also just spoke about or say about H type of climate, the last type, which is not given earlier, that is means the highland type of climate. And this H type of climate is found within the high mountains and where there is snow cover. So the A type of climate is subdivided into tropical wet type of that is rainfall throughout the year, tropical monsoon, tropical wet and dry. The dry type of climate is divided into subtropical steppe, subtropical desert, mid latitude steppe, mid latitude desert. It is BSH, BWH, BSK and BWK. One is subtropical or tropical steppe and desert, and another is mid latitude steppe and desert. Then C type of climate, that is warm temperate or humid mesothermal type of climate, that is humid subtropical type of climate, Mediterranean type of climate and marine west coast type of climate. That is, it is generally found in the west coast of all continents, and also it includes the Mediterranean type of climate, CFA, CFB and CS. Then D is the humid microthermal type of climate, that is, it is found in the temperate regions or cold snow forest region, and it is humid continental, that is the climate which is found within the continents, and the subarctic type of climate, that is just below the Arctic region. The climate which is found in that region, it is known as subarctic, DF and DW. And then E type of climate, or the cold climate, that is the climate around the poles, and it is subdivided into tundra climate and polar ice cap type of climate, and it is ET, where there is no true summer, that is tundra climate, and EF, which is permanent ice cover or perennial ice cover, there is no season, nothing. And he also given the H climate or highland climate, which is designated by H, and that is the climate which is found in the high mountains, which is covered by snow. This is another that is a table showing the classification, and here the second order classification and third order classification both are given. So the first order classification, that is for A, is F, M, is A, B, C, D, E. The second order includes the alphabets F, M, W, S for A, then capital W, capital S for B, which is again has a third order classification, that is H, K, these are the two common divisions. Then C type of climate, again S, W and F, dry summer, dry winter and without any dry season, F designates. And D, that is dry summer, dry winter without any dry season, that is cold continental type of climate. And it has also again a third order division, A, B, C and D. And then the polar climate, that is T and ET and DF, that is tundra and permanent ice cover. So this is the world climate, and where this Kopen's classification, that is the major climatic types, are drawn or shown. And here we can see that the A type of climate, that is AF, AM, AW and AS, these are generally found in the tropical region. You see these are generally found in the tropical region, that is they are found in the northern part of South America, then in the middle part of Africa, then in and around Asia, that is in India and in the South Asian countries, that is Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, in this region they are found generally. These are commonly found, and also in Madagascar and northern part of, extreme northern part of Australia, and these are also found in just the southern tip of North America, that is in West Indies and in Mexico, and just in the southern tip of North America and in West Indian Islands. So these are the tropical regions. So AF, AM, AW and AS are found in this region generally. Then the next type, that is B, which is generally the desert or the arid type of and the semi-arid type of climate. It is BSH, BSK and B. It is generally found in the that is, or BWH, BWK. They are found in Africa, in northern part of Africa, in the Middle East, and also in the dry part of Asia, that is the Middle West. In Midwest region also this type of climate is found, and it is also found in major part of Australia, that is in western part and also some eastern part. This type of climate is found, that is, so it is also found just above the northern part of India, that is around Mongolia and some parts of China, around Egypt and all the Arabian countries. So here this type of climate is mainly found. It is where there are desert or there is arid or semi-arid conditions, and it also in a very narrow patch in South America, that is in western part of South America and also western part of North America, where there is desert. So the desert or arid condition where prevails, this type of climate is generally found. It is very clear from the diagram, from the map. Then C type of climate is generally, that is humid mesothermal type of climate, which is found in the that is warm temperate region, and it is designated by the color green, different shades of green, and it is generally found in northern part of India and the adjacent regions, that is just to the northeastern part of that is Asian part, and it is also found in the a large part of Europe, that is just to the Western Europe. All the countries of Western Europe have this type of climate. Then the western part of southwestern part of North America, and also the southwestern part of South America, and in a small patch, narrow patch in that is the southeastern part of South America. So here also this type of climate is found. And then the D type is, we know that humid microthermal type of climate. So C type is warm temperate rainy climate, but the D type, here it is clear that is D type, it is continental type of climate, there is no dry season, and so this is found in the just below the Arctic region, that is the subarctic region, that is in the northern part of, which is found in the northern part of Europe, generally the Scandinavian countries, and in Russia. This type of climate is generally found just below the polar region or just below the Arctic region, that is in the subarctic region, and is also found in Canada, the northern part of North America, in Canada and around Alaska. This type of climate is generally found, that is just below the polar region or the Arctic region, in the subarctic region this type of climate is found. And the last type, that is permanent snow cover at the polar climate, that is found just around poles. It is found in Antarctica and also in the south, and in the north it is found in the Tundra region in Alaska, and just in the extreme north, that is the polar region or the Arctic region, which we say mainly it covers Alaska, Antarctica or the Arctic region or the Tundra region, there this type of climate is found. So it is from this world map, it is more or less clear to us that in which parts this type of climate is found. Then next is the evaluation of the Kopen scheme. The scheme or the climatic divisions which is given by Kopen, there are many merits and demerits of this classification. The merits are more because it is this classification is the basis of all other classifications which were given afterwards by different other climatologists. Kopen was not only a climatologist, he was also a famous botanist, and I have told already that he just designated the vegetation regions, and accordingly he made the climatic regions or climatic subdivisions throughout the world or climatic classifications throughout the world. And he used two weather elements mainly for his classification, that is temperature and precipitation. These two weather elements were only used by him for the delineation of different climatic regions, and we know that temperature and precipitation are the most widely and frequently used climatic parameters and also the weather elements. So, and it has a much great climate controls. So, he used only these two type of parameters for climatic classification. And number two is that his climatic classification is based on the relationship between floral types or vegetation and their characteristics. So, he had made first he had made a vegetation zones, and on that basis he made the climatic zones. So, there is a close contacts or close similarity with the vegetation zones, the climatic zones. And so, this is another distinct feature, and it is also a very good, that is part from the basis of the climatic classification, a basis for climatic classification, and it is also a very important point regarding the climatic classification. And number 3 is that he also paid due consideration on the loss of moisture through evaporation, through precipitation, and also potential evapotranspiration, that is through transpiration. So, effective precipitation, these are all included within his scheme of climate. So, this is also another important merit of his classification. Loss of moisture through evaporation, then effective precipitation, which depends on the rate of potential evapotranspiration. So, all these features are there in his climatic classification. And in his classification, the relationship between heat and moisture factors get due recognition, that he made a relationship between heat and moisture, and his classification is based on this relationship mainly. And Kopen's scheme also appealed more to the geographers, because the scheme is recognized an association between the vegetation types and the climatic types. So, it is very appealing for the geographers and for the students of geography or for the geography teachers, because both the type we know that in geography there is a close contact or close association between vegetation and climate. Depending upon the climate, the vegetation or the soil of a region developed. So, there is a close association between these two factors, and so it is more appealing for the geographers or the geography students and teachers. Then next is this scheme, which is given by Kopen, is very much descriptive, it is very generalized, and it is also very simple. So, it is widely used or widely acclaimed. It is a very simple type of classification, there is no complication, only the two parameters, that is temperature and precipitations, are taken into account. So, there is no complications, it is very easy to understand, and but it is very, and it is also very much descriptive and precise and also generalized. And next is, this classification is very simple and it is very detailed, all the details that is points are given in this classification, and so it can be easily used at different educational levels in schools and colleges. But in spite of these several merits which is referred above, there are many drawbacks, of serious drawbacks of his climatic classification, and so to remove these drawbacks, afterwards other that is climatologists, they have given other classification of climate. So, the number one drawback is that Kopen do not give any significance to the mean monthly values of temperature and precipitation. He has only given due emphasis on the annual average values of temperature and precipitation, but the monthly values he has not given importance or due emphasis. Then he neglected other weather elements such as precipitation intensity, amount of cloudiness, then the number of rainy days, the daily temperature extremes, and the winds, etc. So, other weather elements which are there, which has also an effect on the climate of any region or on the weather of any region, that he has not taken into account. That is the intensity of precipitation. In what intensity the precipitation occurs, then the amount of cloudiness, that also very much affect the temperature of any region. Then the number of rainy days, depending upon the number of rainy days, the total amount of rainfall can be designated in any region. And daily temperature extremes, he has only given emphasis on the annual average values of temperature, but the daily temperature or the monthly values of temperature has not been given any emphasis. So, and also the wind is also a main feature or main factor or parameter for climate. He made his scheme more descriptive and generalized and ignored the causative factors of climate. So, he made it very much descriptive and very much generalized. He has not given the emphasis on the small factors or the causative factors, that apart from this precipitation or temperature, there are other factors in the climatic classification. He did not include also the characteristics of air masses in his classification, because in climatic classification the air masses also plays a very important role in controlling the climate of any region, but he have not taken into consideration these air masses. Then he used different letter symbols to designate the different climatic types in primary, secondary and also tertiary subtypes, and which make his scheme or make his classification very difficult to memorize and to characterize in words. So, it is very difficult to memorize this type and also to explain in words these symbols, because there is a first order classification which is designated by the capital letters, then second order classification which is designated by small letters, and third order classification which is again designated by small letters. So, it is very difficult to memorize and also to, that is, to give a description of it in words. That is difficult. And another major drawback is that it is very much empirical, and so it is very much based on facts and observation. Kopen has observed, and after his observation and the facts which are there, and it is, this climatic classification is very much empirical. It is depends upon fact and observations, and it is not very analytical. He had not analyzed much. He had not analyzed the different other factors which also affects the climate of any region, and he has not analyzed the small that is the parameters which are there in there, which are already there, which influence the climate or weather of any region, and which are very important. He has not given importance to those factors, and so his classification is very much generalized, and the details are less, though it is precise, but it is not generalized. In spite of all these demerits, the merits are much more in Kopen's classification, and he was the first person to give us such precise and descriptive type of climatic classification of the whole world. And so it is very important. It is the basis of other climatic classification which were made afterwards by Thornthwaite, by Stump, then by Oliver, and so this type climatic classification is very important, and it is one of the basis of climatology, and this is also a very it is included in the syllabus in different curriculum at different stages, at different educational levels, and so the Kopen's classification of climate is very important also, and it is also very much useful for the climatologists and the geographers, and so this type of climatic classification is very important, and it is the basis for further classification afterwards. So this is the something I have told about regarding the Kopen's classification of climate. Thank you. Dada.